Hey folks! Surprise! Face reveal! I'm Mr. Fantastic. This is my first long-form video, and I'm on this journey today and throughout the rest of the summer and trying to make some more long-form content, because my YouTube channel has grown so much over the 2 years that I've been making videos, and I have all of the qualifications towards my next step in my journey towards maybe monetizing my channel. I just need watch hours, and I recently discovered that they only count towards long-form videos. This is day one of my journey towards trying to make some more long-form content, and I'm open to any suggestions, any critiques, any ideas for future videos. I would love to hear from any experienced people or people who want to tell me what they want to see, of course. I'm open to that. I was thinking that the way to start off is the how-to, so you probably can see this setup I have here. I probably need a new one, it's a bit old. Let's get started! Okay, so a first step is always to just draw the base of the head. I always like to start with a circle. It's the simplest, easiest. It's the base for mostly anything, really. You can apply to any style. Start with a line and draw some lines down about 3/4 of the way of how long you want the face to be, and then from there you will make the jaw. And I was not filming that part, so sorry. Now you see it. And from there I always draw a guideline around the jaw to signify where I put my mouth, usually. And then from there I do a little bit of two parallel lines but coming inwards a little bit to signify like the muscles in the neck. Can't really see them, but the muscles that draw down, and then from there you go out just to make the little bit of the curves in the neck, and then you can draw out the shoulders. And usually when I'm just doing I don't usually do busts, but I do like the top of the bust, so I just angle off like a kind of like triangle shape there. And you can always go smaller or wider, but I always try to reach the peak of the shoulders just a little bit, so I can have the full bust, draw the full outfit, or show as much as I possibly can. And from there you also continue the bone of the neck piece, and then if you want to define the shoulders a little bit, you can add little bumps. And so there you have the little, like a simplistic top bust area. And you can always sometimes if it's too small and I want to show more of the outfit, I can make it wider. And I always go over my lines many times to find the right shape. Depending on how large you want to make the bust, you can shape the sides of the chest. And so we have the arms here. It's not perfect and it's not symmetrical, it doesn't always have to be. But it's just showing the change between the shoulders, arms, and the front. And then sometimes I do some hatch shading around the neck area. And there's a simplistic top starting off. And then now we will finally get to the head. I'm sure people have been waiting for that. So for ears, I don't try to go too big, but I want to make them more noticeable so I can add more detail to them. And earrings, because I love adding tons of earrings. So I usually start with a line that works outwards, and then I bend down, curl back, and up. So add a little earlobe, and it's like a little kind of diamond shape, but cut off. And then on the other side, we have the other one. And you can move them up. This is probably the lowest you could probably put them. Just make sure that they meet the top of the eye, because it's proportional with realistic drawings. I'm mainly cartoon, but if you want to make them more realistic or more proportional and push yourself to get more realistic, the eyes meet at the top of the ears and the mouth meet at the bottom. That's usually how I would recommend to go by. Okay, so now that we've gotten the ears, I usually do a simplistic line and lobe, kind of like that. You may have seen it in like styles like Scott Pilgrim or stuff like that. That's where I found out that kind of style. And so we got the ears, and then the eyes are my favorite part. I like adding characteristics to the eyes and detail and personality. So we can start with the normal type of eyes that I usually do, which are also kind of like diamonds, where you start with 2 lines for the base of the eye where they meet at the nose bridge, and then you go up and then angle down and then come back and I usually don't close off the eye, and then you do the same on the other side. And most often my eyes aren't uniform. I usually make one longer than the other or pushed over a little bit, but that's okay. It's your unique style, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And then sometimes I'll make the eyeliner deeper, usually, especially for when I'm drawing feminine presenting characters. And also if I like to draw even more, I can add spikes to the bottom of the eye, which is what I usually like to do, to give it a little more interest and character. But this is the simplistic type I usually like to do. You can always do more of a drooped shape, like this. It's kind of a half circle that is angled. I like this one for like more a different type of character. Mainly I use them for sadder characters, but that doesn't mean it's inherently a sad trait. You can use it for any character and push the boundaries of what you want. And then you put the eye in it, and she can look wherever you want. Like, I usually like to look to the side, and if you want to try to look to the front, you would have the character be a little bit cross-eyed, but not too much, because you don't want your character to look cross-eyed. But if you want them to look forward, you have to have them look a little bit like to the center, so you're looking forward. And that's the easiest way I've found to do it. And you could also do like an anchored character, or more of a sly, angled cut type of character, like that, with angular features. You can also do like more of a bubbly character with rounded features. Shape in art is a huge factor, so if you play around with it, it really helps. So we have more of a happy kind of circular eye. And then the nose bridge, I just do a bump and then a little under bump. And you can move it up or down if you want the bump to be a little bit lower, or if you want it to be like the regular bump that you meet at the eyes. Before you meet the lips, I do 2 crescent shapes like that, just to do a simplistic angle of the nose, and then I do some hatch marks to show the under shading of the nose. And then from there, you could do your lips. You could do whatever kind you like. The base, what I work with, is I do half circle and lines attached. If you wanted to do a frown, you would counter it with a smile line, and then draw down lines connecting. And then I usually like to add little dots or angular shapes to the side to show like the lips meeting at the cheeks. And then I usually do rounded lips and hatch marks to show the top lip that usually has more shading to it. And then to add the eyelids, I just do lines around the top and following the lines of the eyes. And if you have open eyes, you have less of the eyelid showing. Like usually I have hooded eyes, so you can't see much when I have them open. When they're closed, you see most of the eyelid. So the more they're closed, the more you show it. Like with this character, squinted eyes, so you would add a little bit more of the eyelid to show that either their eyes are mainly closed or that they're looking down usually, because looking down shows most of the eye. So you do like that. And then following that, the eyelids, you would draw a small eyebrow. You can do larger, smaller, different shapes, whatever you like. I usually add it just a little bit above the eye because there's the space, but if they're like frowning, it's closer to the eye, and if they're like surprised, it's higher up, of course. For hair, I always try to draw a box of the hairline because your hair, it does this usually, and I try to draw that as much as I can, but it's hard in a facial front perspective because you can barely see it. So I usually try to draw a box, like around the eyes, connecting the side of the hair, and then for the base of the front, I add a line, but it's just as a guideline for where the hair stems from. So, like here, you draw a little line up, and then the hairline, just as a guide, really. And depending on the hairstyle, you may show it more or not. But if I start with a long hairstyle, like something that I usually do, I like drawing the hair flip. So I add a little undercurve, and then a curve in and down. So I add it swooping over. Hair is mainly in shapes and pieces, and it's the best way to just look for those as a start. And like me, I don't draw every single hair piece, so I have a swoop here, and if I want to continue adding weight to it, I can stem from it continuously and maybe like stem off to the side and put a piece there and there. Within the pieces you have, you can always add little pieces stemming off in like triangles pieces and such, adding more distress to the hair. But if you don't want it, you don't add as much pieces per se. You try to make it more uniform. And like my hair, not even trying to be neat, I like to add a lot of weight and excess spikes to it. And if you continue to the other side usually swoops as well in some case, or it can just fall back. And you go to the side, swoop up in a shape like that. I like to work in swirls a lot. Adds a lot of character. But if you're also working with curlier hair, you would do a lot more circles and swoops and individual detail. But if you're going for straighter hair, you would do more square pieces. And then we curve back. Maybe she has this side of her hair tucked back. So we draw the lines of how they work back. And then maybe she has a piece sticking out in the front, and we draw the curves of that. And then we can make that uniform on the other side. Like so. So we have the head top piece and the front pieces. Sometimes you can cover the ears with the amount of hair there is. I like to keep at least some of the ears shown, so I can show off earrings, or just the character's types of ears. And you can have it totally pulled back, showing all of the ears, or you can have it totally in the face. Okay, so now we start with the back of the head, which is the final part. I'll draw some simplistic clothes, and if you want a detailed description of how to do folds and clothes, I'm not the best. I'm still learning, of course, but I can of course provide that if you guys would want. But yes, we start with the back. Usually the back I go pretty simplistic, but the more the hair flows up or around, the more detail I'll add. But I usually start with rounding pieces and sticks of the hair flipping out, and I mainly just go in curves and jumps. And then if I want them to come in the front, you can curl around the front or curl around the neck or face. So we have our girl, we have our face. And then if you just want to add like a simplistic tank top going on, because it is hot outside right now, you add that. You can add like detail or add like a starter shirt, and there's our character. And you can always add different types and different hairstyles, and I can go into more depth about different hairstyles and different hair types if you guys would like, but there's the base of what I usually do. Thank you so much for watching. This was my first video. Hopefully it was entertaining enough. I try my best to edit as well as I can for what I have. I hope you enjoy. Give me any feedback. Critique is always welcome. I will try to come up with more throughout the summer and the year.